we know that people who are physically attractive, though, are given the benefit of doubt by other people. They benefit from the positive halo effect, and the positive halo effect is the propensity of people to assume good things about someone if there is one outstanding thing about them that's easily evident, that's good.
I want to stop this right here because this is actually a really good example of how influencers give the illusion of being an outstanding person or personality just on the basis of their symmetrical appearance. If they are more attractive, things like your Kim Kardashians and things like that, like it's actually very hard for a Kim Kardashian to do something that society will consider negative enough to affect her income, lifestyle, or success. Because of the fact that she has been propped up on this pedestal for so long, and in many people's skewed vision as somebody that is perfection, quote unquote perfection from a physical standpoint, the illusion is then given that it is something that is so sought after, but it's also a very unrealistic expectation for somebody to really achieve what she's achieved. But that is a really great example. Influencers is a great example of exactly what he's talking about there. And it's a very toxic way of looking at life, because things that are on social media is definitely not reality. I mean, I guarantee the only thing that she posts is things that she wants you to see and she wants you to believe. But we have to know at this point that that's just not reality. I don't care how rich you are. I don't care how good life appears to be from a distance. There is absolutely no way that is her reality every single part of the day. So that's just something that I wanted to point out right away from what he's saying here. He's spot on so far.
Good. And so if you stand up straight with your shoulders back, so that's rule 1 in 12 rules for life, then people are going to see you as more attractive. If you're symmetrical, you're more attractive. If you're thin but not too thin, you're more attractive.
I don't know about that last part. I think that people that are, when he said the word symmetrical, so thin doesn't always mean symmetrical. You could be thin and be like straight up and down and be physically unattractive to people. But there are, like, I'll give the example of women who are more curvy. You could say like that seems to be a very go-to when it comes to speaking to attractiveness from a physicality standpoint for women. But it's like a hip to waist ratio, right? Like there's certain things, curves that can be accentuated on a woman that could be quote unquote heavier in terms of poundage, but that actually goes to their favor versus somebody that might be thinner. So I don't really agree with that part of what he said, the words thin. I think that proportions is really what it comes down to when it comes to physical attractiveness. Me personally, I don't have a particular type. I see different types of women, and different types of women are very, very attractive to me. When they could be thicker, they could be thinner, quote unquote. They could be more fit. They could be just a little bit. They could be really, I mean, there's no particular defined type, but I do see a similarity across the board, and that is proportions. It's just what seems to fit for that particular height, that particular body style. And, that's what seems to work. I will say there is something that he pointed out that I have noticed and researched before, where he said symmetry. I have seen studies where they will have faces of, this particular one was about women and men. People were surveyed who are the most attractive. And then the ones that were voted the most attractive, what they did is they had this AI measure their skull, their bone symmetry, where their eyes were, their eyebrows, their mouth, their nose, all this type of things. And it was just trying to see, like, was one eye higher than the other? Was one eyebrow a little bit higher or lower than the other? Just overall face symmetry. And what it came down to was the overwhelming difference between the people that were voted the most attractive and versus the ones that were least attractive, where the people that had the most symmetry. So the eyes were the most straight across and also just very similarly sized. The mouth just happened to just be the most symmetrical to their jaw. Their teeth were more symmetrical and fit just their overall head style and what their head would allow. So I don't think that there is any defined structure. There's no one particular person, one particular way that's more attractive than another. But I do believe in symmetry, ratios that are actually the ones that telltale what's attractive.
Well, and then there's like good skin and good teeth and good hair and all of those things and proper proportions and youth. And there's a whole slew of things that feed into that. If you are characterized by a plethora of those features, then people are also going to assume that you're more competent and more worth having around, let's say. We know that that people.
Okay, so that last part that he's talking about, I feel like is more of a health tell than anything. So if you have good skin, good hair, good teeth, that is a natural recognition of health. We naturally look at people who have certain skin tones, less acne, certain just more healthier skin, just things that stand out a little bit more, where that tells us that that person technically is healthier. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that inside they are healthy, that what they are eating is healthy, what they are consuming is healthy. It doesn't mean that they're not going through some shit, some stress, they don't have some problems going on. But from an outside perspective, from an outside looking in, and this is why filters are such a freaking disaster. I hate filters. I hate it with a passion. But this is where filters come in, where it tells a false story. This is where, but if you have somebody that does not have to wear makeup, that does not have to have any blemishes covered or faked due to filters, if you have somebody that genuinely looks like, wow, man, that person looks attractive. I'm sure you've come across somebody that hasn't had any makeup or any particular type of thing that changes their face. And you're just like, man, they're just radiating just beauty and health and vitality. But that's what he's talking about. And I 100% buy into that. That is something that I personally strive for myself. That's something that I look for in other people that I want to be associated with, people that I want to really have in-depth conversations with. But those things, 1,000%, absolutely attribute to attractiveness.